Hi, welcome back, and thanks for joining me as we are continuing now on the days of creation according to St. Thomas Aquinas and the Summa Theologia. My name is Dave Palmer. Thanks for visiting the page. Hopefully you've already watched the first two, and we will go through all 7 days and just trying to unpack this. It's challenging because Aquinas is really trying to get to the root of what the writer of Genesis meant when he said, in day 3, let the water under the sky be gathered into a single basin so that the dry land may appear. Let the earth bring forth vegetation. Now, we read that and probably read it in a CCD class when you were a kid, and you thought, okay, no problem. The earth was made and some plants or trees, and all right, let's go on to day number 4. Well, to Aquinas, it's not quite that simple because there's a lot of complexities and kind of unpacking that goes about in trying to make sense of all this. So let's go to the actual passage from Genesis. The third day is verses 9 through 13 of Genesis chapter 1, and it says, Then God said, Let the water under the sky be gathered into a single basin so that the dry land may appear. And so it happened, the water under the sky was gathered into its basin, and the dry land appeared. Okay, simple enough. So now we have dry land, right? So God called the dry land earth, and the basin of water he called sea. God saw that it was good. Now this is where it gets a little bit complicated, because then God said, Let the earth bring forth vegetation, every kind of plant that bears seed, and every kind of fruit tree on earth that bears fruit with its seed in it. And so it happened. Now key in on that word seed, because that's going to be very important as we find out what Thomas thinks and Augustine, whom Thomas relies on, what exactly does that mean, that there's the seed there? The earth brought forth vegetation, every kind of plant that bears seed, and every kind of fruit tree that bears fruit with its seed in it. God saw that it was good. Evening came, and morning followed the third day. Okay, now the third day is significant because there's 6 days of creation. We now have completed half of the days, and this half point, or this halftime, I guess you could say, using a sports analogy, is very important because what's going to follow will be the adornment of the distinction, as Thomas says, of the first 3 days. So Thomas asks whether it was fitting that the gathering together of the waters should take place as recorded on the third day. Now, you know exactly how Thomas is going to come down on this because he's not going to dispute Scripture. Okay, Scripture is inerrant, and Thomas had great respect for Scripture, and so he's not going to say no, that's not true. Of course it's true, but then you got to figure out what exactly it means. So this is not the entire article, but this is what I think is the most important part of the article. He says, according, however, to other holy writers, because he first talked about Augustine, and now he's kind of making a distinction between what Augustine said and what other holy writers said. An order of duration in the works is to be understood, by which is meant that the formlessness of matter precedes its formation, and one form another in order of time. Now, this whole idea of formlessness, it's in the Bible verse. Okay, the earth was a formless. Mentioned in the first couple of verses of Genesis of the whole Bible, right? Formlessness. What does that mean? Okay, because form is what kind of defines something. It gives it really essence, in a sense, of what it is, right? So this is a very important word. Okay, nevertheless, they do not hold that the formlessness of matter implies the total absence of form. Interesting. Since heaven, earth, and water already existed, since these 3 are named as already clearly perceptible to the senses. Rather, they understand by formlessness the want of due distinction, okay? Separation between the 3. What is sky? What is water? What is earth? That's what he's talking about here. And perfect beauty. And in respect of these 3, Scripture mentions 3 kinds of formlessness. Heaven, the highest of them, was without form so long as darkness filled it, because it was the source of light. Remember in day 1, we talked about the formlessness of heaven, but then light was created on day 1, and it gave form to what was formless. Because, the formlessness of the water, which holds the middle place, is called the deep, because, as Augustine says, this word signifies the mass of waters without order. Okay, so let's keep going. Thirdly, the formless state of the earth is touched upon when the earth is said to be void or invisible because it was covered by the waters. Thus, then, the formation of the highest body took place on the first day, and since time results from the movement of the heaven and is the numerical measure of the movement of the highest body, from this formation resulted the distinction of time, namely that of night and day. Okay, day one. Okay, this is when light was created. On the second day, he continues, the intermediate body, water, was formed, receiving from the firmament a sort of distinction and order, so that water be understood as including certain other things. On the third day, the earth, the lowest body, received its form by the withdrawal of the waters, and there resulted the distinction in the lowest body, namely the land and sea. Hence, Scripture, having clearly expresses the manner in which we receive its form by the equally suitable words, let the dry land appear. All right, so what we have here after 3 days of creation is distinction between the heavens, the water, and the earth. Now, the heavens could mean heaven. It could also mean the sky. And in this sense, the dome, the firmament, right? And so that's what he's getting at here. Now, the next 3 days of creation are going to have to do with adornment. We're going to put creatures in the sky, creatures in the sea, creatures on land. Okay, now that's why, like I said, we're at the halfway point here. Now the earth and the sky, or the heavens and the water, are distinct. They're now separated from each other, so we have 3 distinct things. But then the interesting thing here is that on the third day, all of a sudden, we start talking about the production of plants. And should this take place in the third day, is what Thomas asks in another article. And he says in the Corpus, I answer that, but concerning the production of plants, Augustine's opinion differs from that of others. For other commentators, in accordance with the surface meaning of the text, consider that the plants were produced in act in their various species on the third day. Okay, so other writers say we've got roses and trees and bushes and, what have you, violets and tulips, and they start growing, right? That's not what Augustine said. Whereas Augustine says that the earth is said to have then produced plants and trees in their causes. That is, it received then the power to produce them. Okay, but not actually producing them. That's why I said the word seed was key here. He supports this view by the authority of Scripture, for it is said in Genesis 2, 4, and 5, these are the generations of the heaven and the earth when they were created in the day that God made the heaven and the earth, and every plant of the field before it sprung up in the earth, and every herb of the ground before it grew. Okay, that's the key there, before it grew. So Augustine, and Thomas seems to agree, is saying, well, the seed of the plant, so to speak, the ability to grow plants was the third day, but there weren't actually plants. Okay, that's kind of where I think Thomas is coming down. Okay, finally, therefore, the production of plants and their causes within the earth took place before they sprung up from the earth's surface, and this is confirmed by reason as follows. In these first days, God created all things in their origin of causes, and from this work he subsequently rested yet afterwards by governing his creatures in the work of propagation. He worketh until now. Now the production of plants from out of the earth is a work of propagation, and therefore they were not produced in the act of the third day, but in their causes only. Okay, so again, not to reiterate that too much, but Thomas does not believe that plants actually grew on the third day. It was in their causes and their seeds, perhaps, or the potential for plants, and that's what happened, and that's where he comes down. So now, after 3 days, we have the heavens, or the sky, we have the earth, and we have the sea, and they're distinct. Okay, they have form now. Okay, and so you can kind of imagine in your head what all of this maybe looked like, and to be there, but there would not have been any animals, or certainly no man, or elephants or birds or fish or anything like that. That's all going to come in these next 3 days. And so day 4, day 5, day 6 is going to populate the sky and the sea and the earth. Okay, and then of course day 7 is going to rest. We'll have separate videos on all those, but that will do it for day number 3. Thank you very much for watching. God bless you.